Today we are gathered to mourn the loss of an Apex legend. Caustic was known dearly to all of us, and if you want to remember him, press F in the comments, and we will remember him by some of his finest quotes.
Death is a paradoxical quest. It ends, but never truly begins.
What the f does that even mean? So today we're going to go over what happened to this guy, why he's getting nerfed to the ground, and how this all actually ended up happening, because it takes place over a much longer time frame. So we're going to go over that, and I hope you guys go ahead and see some of the issues that come up in this video. But as always, we got to go over who was first, and that is Baby Lungs. Congratulations on your first time being first and making it to this page, and maybe change your username, it's a little weird. Also want to give a shout out to Shin, who did a giveaway for the Xbox Lifeline Edition for Apex Legends. We do giveaways on my stream, so go ahead, drop by on Twitch, and we'll see you there, link in description. Thank you again, Shin, for giving back to the community. So to understand this, first you need to go ahead and look at yesterday's patch notes that came out, and basically Caustic is getting a huge nerf. His ultimate cooldown is increased from 2.5 to 3.5 minutes, making it very, very less aggressively used as it previously was, and he has to wait a lot longer to use it. But the really, really big thing here is that the Nox gas now deals damage at a flat rate of 5 HP per tick, instead of increasing from 6 to 12 HP.
This is bullshit.
That's a huge, huge nerf for one of the only defensive characters. There's only two. There is Wattson and Caustic. And now with the two legends that are available to be defensive, one of them is kind of useless compared to the other, and it's game breaking. But why did we get to this point? How did this happen to Caustic? Why is he getting a nerf? Well, it's really interesting when you actually look at the history of Apex Legends and how devs have kind of mishandled this character. Okay, so back in Season 7, we had the Fight Night event coming up, and they were doing a patch for Season 7, and Daniel Zine Klein is here in this tweet, and he basically goes ahead and says, yep, we're going to go ahead and buff Caustic. It took 10 minutes to do, and 2 to 3 playtests to convince me it wouldn't hurt the game, and Caustic is in fact one of the weakest characters in the game.
You're goddamn right.
You have it right there in writing, a dev saying Caustic is weak. Caustic needed a buff. This will not, in fact, ruin the game mechanics at all. He needs one. So it seems at this point that the developers and Respawn are very much aware that, hey, we need to fix this character. He's not as good as he should be, and we're going to go ahead and do this. So at this point, a lot of players in the general player base are very happy. Caustic needed a buff. The devs have said he's weak. The players feel the same way. And everyone's pretty much happy about this, except for like 0.0000000
2 hours later.
1% of the population. Like, it's a very small minority, and that is pro players. Now, here's a quote right here. Apex is actually becoming Overwatch at this rate. Used to be who could gun the hardest, now is who can use their abilities the best. And you know what? Pro players actually have a very valid point on how the mechanics work in their lobbies. I can totally understand what they're saying when they're in a high tier lobby doing a lot of tournaments and some guys are just camping and going ahead and using legend abilities instead of actually outplaying them with guns. I totally understand that. My problem is that when you go ahead and make tweets like this and you actually change the game development cycle that affects 99% of players, that's not good. That is unfair to everyone else who plays this game, who is a large majority. A very vocal minority somehow can change the entire development cycle of this game, and we're going to show you how that happens. So I went ahead and showed you that tweet earlier where devs even said, hey, this is a problem with Caustic, he's very weak. But all of a sudden, after a couple pro players went ahead and tweeted like I showed, this was their response to the Caustic buff. Daniel Z. Klein says, and this is the same guy who said Caustic was too weak, for anyone wondering, we reverted the Caustic buff after looking at data. He's been climbing like crazy the last 3 weeks. Most concerningly, both his win and his pick rate have been climbing in unison. Looks like he doesn't need the buff.
Well, which is it?
So let's take a look at this. On January 2nd is the first tweet where he says, Caustic is weak, he's one of the weakest legends in the game. Yet somehow on January 5th, a literal 3 days later, he says, nah, never mind, I guess I just ignored all the data that has been coming in the last 3 weeks in my last tweet, and he's actually really good now and doesn't need the buff. Like, where in the 3 days did you decide, oh, now I'll go ahead and look at the data and completely flip-flop?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
So here's my problem with these tweets, okay? So the one on January 5th says that his pick rate has been climbing in unison and his win rate. However, 3 days earlier, he says he's one of the weaker characters. How did you not on January 2nd see that 3 weeks worth of data that he was all of a sudden climbing, and you go ahead and make a statement like that? It's because it's not true, and they're lying, and they're not being transparent, which they've done a million times, and they're catering to pro players, but that's not even the issue here. The issue I have is the lack of transparency and treating its community like we're a bunch of idiots.
Why you always lying? Oh my god.
If you want to go ahead and cater to the pro player base, that's totally fine. I totally understand that from a business standpoint because they endorse the game and a lot of people watch them. I do get that. But then just be honest with us. Don't hide behind a veil of we looked at data that we're not going to actually share with you, because they never did that either. This is in the exact same vein as cross progression, which I've done another video on, and I don't think that's ever coming to the game because Respawn always gives the same canned responses on Reddit Q&As. They always say it's really hard to implement and we can't do it right now.
Liar!
Which isn't true. I totally think they're capable of doing it, especially a studio as good and as proficient as Respawn. And look, if you don't plan on doing it for business practices, I understand that from a fiscal standpoint. I'm not arguing that you need to do things just to make the player base happy. What I'm arguing is that if you're going to do things differently than what the player base wants, at least be transparent about it. So yes, going into March 9th for the patch, when it releases on Nintendo Switch, Caustic will not be a very viable legend. He's just not good anymore. Wasn't that great to begin with. I don't think anyone ever said, Caustic is totally meta, man. He's crushing it. He was just a meh player, but for some reason, Respawn decided to nerf him to the ground. So here we are with one defensive legend, Watson, which takes a very high skill gap to actually get good with. I don't have words. I made this video today because I don't feel like there's a lot of YouTubers that go ahead and talk about some of the issues with Respawn and the lack of transparency or some of the gameplay mechanics. I feel like a lot of people are doing that whole EA play thing, and it's fine. I understand, you know, you want to work with the big company and you want to go ahead and grow and grow and grow, and I'm totally for that. Everyone should go on their own path. I'm not that kind of YouTuber. I don't have any intentions of ever being an EA play tester or whatever thing like that. I'd rather give you guys the honest facts as I'm seeing it around and what seems to be the case with the lack of transparency. I love this game from the bottom of my heart. I play it every single day and I'm not going to stop. But I definitely think that some of these issues do need to be addressed and that Respawn should honestly take a good look at what some of their practices are with the community. So that's going to be my video today, guys. Who knows if they're ever going to fix this guy? They may not. They may continue to not be transparent. The most we can do is share this video, let everyone know this is kind of what you can be expecting from the devs as of now. Until next time, legends, keep slaying the Outlands, and I'll see you out there.